Hey everybody, Life's Journey of 50 here. So, hey, I thought I would take a moment after kind of recouping from my 2 BDRs this summer, as well as the broken leg. I just wanted to kind of do a little bit of a recap on the 2 BDRs. So, and just a little bit of the differences between the Northeast BDR and the Wyoming BDR, and give you an idea of kind of what my thoughts were, and also realistically what I thought, what I think is better, and is there a better one? Because the BDRs are pretty awesome, as you guys well know. I've done Mid-Atlantic as well as the PAX, and so I think that gives me a little bit of knowledge on them. Now, granted, obviously there's more out on the west that I need to get to, but let's see what I have to say. So, all right, hang on one second and let's get at this. All right, so obviously I've got trusty Cap here. Cap's been on all 4 of those BDRs that I discussed, and obviously, you know, she's done a great job. So, you know, doing the 2 BDRs this past summer was pretty crazy. You know, BDRs are challenging to say the least, and Northeast BDR is considered probably number 2. It's top 3. I think Oregon now is pretty up there, as well as obviously the California BDR, just because of all the sand and everything, from what I understand. Granted, haven't done both of them, but North BDR was very difficult to a certain degree, because we were all on big bikes, like the 1250. We weren't riding mid-weights or even, you know, dual sports, and so it's a little bit more challenging in that aspect, just because it's a bigger bike, more weight to carry. I did, as you guys probably saw, if you didn't get a chance, check that out. But, you know, I did tear the clutch up a little bit on Cap, had to get repairs, which again, a shout out to Max BMW. Then I get out to Wyoming. I didn't have a problem, but my riding partner Matt did, as you guys probably saw that one where he tore his clutch up on section 7. And so, but long story short is, between both BDRs, they both have great riding, and they're both fantastic. I would say that the Northeast BDR had a lot more difficult sections, but they were shorter. And then the Wyoming BDR had difficult sections, but they were longer. And what do I mean by that? You know, you're up on class 4 roads, all that stuff throughout Vermont, New Hampshire, all those areas. There's a lot of difficult sections, but they're shorter sections. They might be a mile, 3 mile, 5 mile, whatever, but they're shorter in length, versus Wyoming, where it had, you know, fewer of more difficult terrain, but that seemed like they were longer, and so it kind of balanced out a little bit. So, but you know, between the two, you know, they have their challenges on both of them, especially if you're doing the expert sections. And you know, there was a couple on the Northeast BDR. We went the reverse route, so we were going north to south, and on the elevator shaft on section 2, we tried to do the going up. I guess coming from the other side is a little bit easier. It's difficult, don't get me wrong, it is difficult, but a little bit easier to get up and then coast down all the rocks versus what we try to do. And so that made for a tough one. Also, the Moses Trail, where we had to push all these big bikes up, that's normally ridden down when you're going south to north versus north to south. So, you know, there was a lot, and we did that, a lot of rain. It was 2 weeks before the big floods came through, so but we still had a ton of rain up there in the Northeast. Now, flip side, Wyoming, we had perfect weather. I mean, perfect. Now, we didn't have any rain fall on us. We did run into some sections that had rain where it was, you know, muddy, but it wasn't anything of what I've seen a lot of people deal with on the rain. Because now the difference is, at least in the Northeast, it's mud, and you're kind of greasy, you know, on the East Coast, you know, the mud is just greasy and sloppy and stuff like that. You get out west, and especially in like Wyoming area, that sandish type mix turns into almost like a cement. Gets caked up in your wheels, you can lock up your wheels. A lot of times when it's raining, you just literally have to pull over and wait till it dries out. That could be a day or whatever it could be, so a few hours to a day. So we were lucky, we didn't face a lot of that. There were some sections that we did on 6 and 7 that we kind of ran into, especially on 7. But for the most part, we had, you know, perfect weather, and I really couldn't complain about that. So again, you know, between the difficulty levels, Northeast BDR, a little bit more difficult. I think Wyoming, just because of some of the length of some of the, you know, is challenging as well. And obviously that section 7 is pretty rough, especially when you're on the bigger bikes. Like I said, there's a lot of people that don't ride these big bikes. You know, some people say you guys are crazy, you know, why you put yourself through that, you guys are nuts. I find it a challenge. I enjoy it. Yeah, could I be crazy? Could I be nuts? Absolutely. But I enjoy the challenges of taking the big bike on those terrains. So that for me is what I think is kind of cool. So yeah, when I talk about the big bikes and the challenges of it, I mean, if you look at Cap here, I mean, you know, it's all geared out, ready to go. Like I said, she's taking a beating. She does extremely well. You know, loaded up. And I just find that when doing these BDRs and the challenge of riding these big bikes, to me, again, it's just fun. I enjoy it. And again, a lot of people, there's been some comments on there from folks that, oh, you're nuts and you're out of control. Look at all the breathing, the hard work you're doing. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, okay. Well, I'm 56. I'm obviously not in the greatest shape in the world, and but I enjoy this. This is kind of what I do. So again, to each their own. You pick the bike that feels most comfortable for you and what you want to do. But I enjoy it. So I found Wyoming just to be beautiful. And I mean, absolutely, it was gorgeous. And I find it hard to beat the Wyoming BDR in scenery. Now, I know that obviously there's Colorado and some other places to go that probably has just as great a scenery in their own perspective. But I really liked Wyoming. I just, you know, I like that big sky country. Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, all that stuff is beautiful. But, you know, it was so canopied, which is also nice, don't get me wrong. And maybe we rode it at the wrong time of the year. Maybe if you did it towards the fall when the leaves are changing. We rode it the last week of June. And, but I find that I didn't feel like I got a great sense of the all-around landscape, because the trees and everything, the canopies over the roads and stuff were so much that I don't know if we got a chance to really enjoy that. Plus, Mount Washington was closed the day that we were doing it. That kind of stunk. But we had some great visibility of you know, Quill Hill and some stuff. So, but my favorite has been Wyoming so far. And again, there's some great pieces in Northeast, but difficulty wise, yeah, it was rough, as you guys probably saw the videos. In the Northeast, there were some good sections in Wyoming as well, but the Northeast just had a lot more of them, and so you know, very challenging. Plus, it was wet, rainy. We even, you know, we ran Motaz rows on these things, and we were still, you know, going at it pretty good. So yeah, I would just tell you that if you're going to do these, you know, a couple of things. You know, make sure you got a communicator, because there's a lot of places that even on the Northeast BDR, even though you think it's more populated and stuff like that, a lot of places where you don't have cell signal and stuff like that. Wyoming, forget about it. You're lucky if you even get to a town that you get 1 or 2 bars, and you're lucky if you can even hook up to somebody's internet while you're having lunch or whatever. So you know, definitely get a communicator, inReach, whatever. You know, make sure you have plenty of water. The Northeast wasn't so bad, just because, again, it's the Northeast, is more populated, had more places to stop. The Wyoming definitely needed more water. You didn't know what you'd have. And that was the other thing I would tell you, that an advantage of the big bike versus the smaller bikes, gas tank. I could fill up, and I know I can get through a couple of sections and not have to worry about gas, where I know there's been a lot of conversation on folks worrying about gas and all that stuff, so they got to carry extra, you know, gas for themselves. So again, very remote Wyoming, very populated on the northeast, very different. You have access to services, like I blew my clutch out last year when I did Wyoming, and I was on section 1 and blew the clutch went out on me on that Africa Twin I was on. You know, there was nowhere. I had to bring it all the way back to Ohio, kind of lost out and didn't have an opportunity to get it fixed in Wyoming. So big differences there. So you really have to think about planning almost type of survival stuff. We carried bear spray, all of us did, on both routes, just because you just never know what you're going to run into. But it's easier, I believe, that if you get up early in the morning and you get after it, and then in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, you can start finding a place and getting some rest and settle down while you're doing your stuff. And what do I mean by stuff is grabbing something to eat, getting your tent, whatever, getting your wherever you're staying, get all that stuff. But you know, get up early in the morning. It's a slog. These BDRs are work, and so you just got to have the right mindset. And then, like I said, you finish at the end, towards the end of the day, you're finding a good place to stay, you're getting yourself settled, you go get some good rest, and then you'll be able to spend some time with the guys that you're riding with. So I would not recommend doing these BDRs by yourself. I've seen, you know, some of that stuff going on. I would tell you most of them are probably not doing the expert sections. Mid-Atlantic BDR is probably about the only one that you possibly could get away with doing it by yourself, but even still, you should always ride with someone just to be safe. So I just wanted to give my thoughts on the two BDRs, the Northeast as well as the Wyoming BDR, because they're fantastic. Again, get out there, get riding, and I've been very fortunate to be able to do that. But the BDR folks do a great job. Can't wait next year and what they're going to roll out over the next few years. There's some exciting stuff coming, so I can't wait to see what Ina and Tim and the gang have for us. But get out there, be safe, have communication, take some water, have your med kit, and make sure you're traveling with someone. And just have yourself some fun. So again, my thoughts, again, out of all these BDR, especially these two, Wyoming was my favorite just because I like the open landscape. Heck, we had snow. That was pretty wild too in the middle of July. But the Northeast is every bit demanding as could be. So depending on your taste, what your riding style is, big bikes, mid-sized bikes, dual sports, whatever, enjoy yourself, have some fun, and take pictures, document it, and just enjoy life a little bit. So, all right, folks, that's my take. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.